So the Aces are the current WNBA champions, and yeah, it's going to be a grim, and I mean grim, few weeks for this franchise, because it does not seem like things are going well in terms of the off-the-court stuff. And every bit of this starting from the old championship parade. And it's one of these things where it's like, this wouldn't mean much if it wasn't for the fact that Nalissa Smith was a key player on this.
The locker room is fractured and the silence is deafening. It is officially over for the Las Vegas Aces dynasty because two of their biggest stars can no longer stand to be in the same building. Nalissa Smith and Jackie Young are done. There is no coming back from this, no team meeting that fixes the damage, and no championship pedigree that can bridge this massive divide. What started as a celebration at the parade has turned into a total disaster that threatens to wipe out everything this franchise has built over the last few years. The dream is dead and the fallout is going to be absolutely brutal for every single person involved in this organization.
Smith was a key player on this team. Nalissa was a key player on this team, and I don't see how Nalissa Smith and Jackie Young are ever going to be able to play on the same team again. I don't see how that's going to happen, and it's tough because it's not difficult to find a four to play beside Aja Wilson. However, the Fever have struggled. The Fever really struggled. Not struggled, geez. The Aces have really struggled over the years to find that player. That being said,
we are looking at a grim few weeks for this franchise, and I mean truly grim. This isn't just a minor locker room spat or a disagreement over playing time. This is a fundamental breakdown of the off-court chemistry that makes a championship team function. When you have key players who literally cannot play on the same court together anymore, you don't have a team, you have a ticking time bomb. The Aces have fought so hard to climb to the top of the mountain, but the descent is happening faster than anyone could have predicted. It is a complete and total meltdown that is starting to leak out into the public eye.
Her former teammate, or her teammate, is dating her ex, while also the rumor is that she's also dating her former teammate's ex. Like, this is very odd, it's very odd as somebody who's coming from obviously being around a lot of male sports, but it doesn't really happen. That being said, though, I don't really care as long as these type of things don't affect playing on the floor. And if there's one thing I know from covering
the core of the issue is a personal web that sounds more like a reality show than a professional sports team. The rumors swirling around the locker room suggest a level of interpersonal drama that is almost impossible to navigate. We are talking about situations where teammates are dating exes and former teammates are caught in the middle of romantic overlaps. When you are trying to compete at the highest level in the world, you cannot have this kind of nonsense clouding your vision. It creates sides, it creates whispers, and eventually it creates a situation where the basketball becomes secondary to the drama.
And if there's one thing I know from covering Nalissa Smith since 2024 is outside bullshit affects Nalissa Smith playing basketball. It does. Like, it was very clear whenever Dejanay was tweeting bullshit, especially towards Caitlin, Nalissa played worse. She did. She played worse. Whenever that was happening, she was playing worse. I don't know if it was an intentional, like it was a thing she noticed, but that's what it felt like anyway. And by the way, like, nobody's questioning Nalissa Smith's talent.
Nalissa Smith is a massive talent, but we have seen this pattern before. Throughout her career, from her time with the Dallas Wings to her stint with the Indiana Fever, outside noise has always been her Achilles heel. She is the type of player who needs a stable environment to thrive, and when the circus starts, her production falls off a cliff. We saw it when the social media drama with Dejanay Carrington started affecting her play on the floor. When the focus shifts away from the game, Nalissa loses that mental edge. And right now, the noise around the Aces is louder than it has ever been in her life.
And trade for her. And look, giving up the first round pick for Nalissa, if you're Vegas, was worth it. It was probably worth it. But it's a tough one because the Aces are probably going to lose one of their big three. They're definitely losing Jewel Lloyd, obviously. They're probably going to lose one of AJ. Oh, they're not losing AJ. They're probably going to lose one of Chelsea Gray or Jackie Young. Probably Chelsea Gray. I have a feeling Chelsea Gray is going to take like a mega bucks contract at Washington. That's my theory, is that Chelsea Gray is going to take a max $1.2 million contract to go play for the Washington Mystics. I think everybody...
The relationship between NaLyssa and the fans in Indiana was always a bit weird, but at least there she was just fighting external critics. In Vegas, the conflict is internal, it is right there in the huddle, it is right there on the bench. If she couldn't handle the pressure of fans tweeting at her, how is she supposed to handle a situation where she can't even look her own teammate in the eye? This is a mental hurdle that some players never get over, and for a team that relies so heavily on chemistry, this is the ultimate poison that will eventually kill their chances of repeating.
That's my theory, is that Chelsea Gray is going to take a max $1.2 million contract to go play for the Washington Mystics. I think everybody kind of knows that if you're smart, that this was the 2022 Warriors year, that this current version of the Aces, that they weren't one of the top teams, but they somehow managed to win a ring. My theory is that she's going to go to Washington. Why? Because Washington can pay her 1.2 million Supermax, and Washington have the 4th pick in the draft, which they might go and use, which they very well could use on Awafam, or they could use it on Flaw J. Johnson. You've still got Sonia Citron.
Let's be honest about where the Aces actually stand in the hierarchy of the league. My theory is that this version of the Aces was very similar to the 2022 Golden State Warriors. They weren't necessarily the best or most talented team in the league, but they somehow managed to capture lightning in a bottle and pull off a championship run. They caught the right breaks at the right time, but that kind of magic is rarely sustainable when the foundation starts to crack. They were playing above their heads, and now that the vibes have turned toxic, the reality of their roster limitations is being exposed.
Or when she went to Vegas, than we saw for the last season and a half before that. There was a different level of lock-in from a super talented player. And I just don't know how this situation is going to get moved past, because with all of this bullshit going on, Jackie Young could very well not affect Jackie Young. There are 100% players in this league who wouldn't get affected by the nonsense, who would be able to just be fully professional and not let it affect them. And not even saying that NaLyssa Smith's not unprofessional. She has just proven so far to, well, basically let the outside noise affect whether or not, like, how she plays.
The biggest blow to the Dynasty isn't just the drama, it's the potential departure of a true legend. There is a very real chance that Chelsea Gray is walking out the door. The word is that she is looking at a massive megabucks contract to head to the Washington Mystics. We are talking about a potential supermax deal worth $1.2 million. If Chelsea Gray leaves, the heart and soul of the Aces goes with her. You cannot replace that kind of veteran leadership and point guard play overnight. Without her, the entire offensive system collapses, leaving the rest of the stars stranded on an island.
On the Aces right now, that will be going on with the Aces, and like you just know that Dejanay is going to rock up courtside wearing a number 0 jersey if NaLyssa Smith is still on the team with NaLyssa Smith there. Like, you just know she's going to pull some bullshit like that, and I don't think that's going to be good for this Aces team. But I also think it's going to be tough for the Aces to find someone to replace NaLyssa Smith, because she did really well for them. And if, in fairness, 1 first-round pick for a ring, worth it. But I thought the Aces probably didn't have the firepower.
Washington is sitting in a prime position to gut the Aces roster. They have the cap space to offer that massive contract, and they have the 4th overall pick in the draft. Imagine a scenario where Chelsea Gray joins a team that potentially adds a superstar like Flaw J. Johnson or Paige Buchers. They already have Shatori Walker-Kimbrough and Shakira Austin. That is a starting 5 that could legitimately be better than anything the Aces can put on the floor next year. The power shift in the league is happening right before our eyes, and Vegas is the one being left in the dust. Losing Nalissa Smith is going to be a massive headache for the front office because finding a 4 to play beside Aja Wilson has been a nightmare for years. The Aces have struggled for a long time to find that specific type of player who fits the system and complements Aja's unique skill set. Nalissa was actually doing a decent job filling that void, but now that bridge is burned. You can't just plug in a random veteran and expect the same results. Aja is the best player in the world, but even she can't carry a team if the supporting cast is constantly in a state of flux. The expansion draft is looming like a dark cloud over this entire situation. If you are the Aces, how do you even decide who to protect? You certainly aren't going to protect Nalissa Smith at this point because you know you can't get anything for her in a trade. Her value has plummeted because everyone in the league knows the situation is untenable. You are basically resigned to losing her for nothing, which is a devastating blow for a team that gave up a first-round pick to get her. It was a gamble that won them a ring, but the long-term cost is proving to be astronomical. The mental aspect of the game is where this dynasty is truly being obliterated. We have seen Nalissa play at an all-star level when she is locked in, but those moments are becoming fewer and farther between. There was a different level of focus when she first got to Vegas, but that has evaporated. When a player of her caliber is mentally checked out, it doesn't matter how much physical talent they have. You can see it in the body language on the court and the lack of cohesion during high-pressure moments. The fire that drove them to a championship has been replaced by a cold indifference. And then there is the Dejanai Carrington factor. You just know she is going to stir the pot. Can you imagine the scene if she shows up courtside wearing a number 0 jersey while Nalissa is trying to focus on a playoff game? That is the kind of petty bullshit that this team simply cannot handle right now. It turns every single game into a media circus and a social media frenzy. Instead of talking about defensive rotations or offensive efficiency, the post-game press conferences are going to be dominated by questions about locker room beef and relationship status. The salary cap situation makes everything even more complicated. When you have Aja Wilson getting into Supermax territory, your flexibility to fix these issues disappears. You are locked into a roster that is currently falling apart at the seams. You don't have the assets to make a big move, and you don't have the cap room to sign a top-tier free agent to replace the pieces you are losing. The Aces are essentially trapped in a prison of their own making, watching their championship window slam shut because they couldn't keep the personal drama away from the professional workplace. Some players are built to handle the noise. There are athletes who can walk into a locker room where nobody likes each other and still go out and drop 30 points. Jackie Young might be one of those people who can remain a professional and ignore the nonsense, but a team is only as strong as its weakest link. If half the roster is distracted by who is dating who and who is tweeting what, the collective focus is gone. You cannot win at this level with divided loyalties and hidden agendas. The immaculate vibes that defined their title run are officially a thing of the past. If the Aces fall to the 6th or 7th most talented team in the league, they are in serious trouble. Having the most talented player in the world in Aja Wilson is a great starting point, but we have seen time and time again that one player cannot beat a cohesive, deep team. If the supporting cast is a mess, Aja is going to be facing double and triple teams every single night with no reliable outlet. The firepower just isn't there anymore. They are losing their depth, they are losing their chemistry, and they are losing their identity as a dominant force. I genuinely don't want to see Nalissa Smith go back to a situation like Indiana where the pressure is constant. I want to see her go to an expansion franchise where she can just be the focal point and drop 17 points a night without the circus following her. She needs a fresh start in a city where nobody knows her personal history. But for the Aces, her departure is just one more hole in a boat that is already taking on massive amounts of water. They are losing a piece they spent a lot of capital on, and they have no clear path to replacing her production. The upcoming season is going to be a massive test for the coaching staff and the front office. How do you manage a locker room that has become this toxic? How do you convince players to stay when they see the ship sinking? If the rumors about Chelsea Gray are true, the exodus is only just beginning. Once one major pillar of the dynasty leaves, the others tend to follow. It's a domino effect that can turn a championship contender into a lottery team in the blink of an eye. The Aces are standing at the edge of the cliff, and it feels like they are about to jump. It's tough because the move for Nalissa Smith originally seemed like a masterstroke. Giving up a first-round pick for a player who helped you secure a ring is always a trade you make. But dynasties are built on more than just one-year windows. They are built on culture and sustainability. By bringing in players who struggle with the outside noise and personal conflicts, the Aces prioritized short-term gain over long-term stability. Now they are paying the price for that decision, and the bill is coming due at the worst possible time for the franchise. The reality of the WNBA is that momentum is everything. When you are the hunted, every team brings their best game against you. If you aren't 100% locked in, you get exposed. The Aces are no longer the terrifying juggernaut that everyone feared. They are a team with a target on their back that is currently fighting amongst themselves. Other teams in the league are smelling blood in the water. They see the cracks, they hear the rumors, and they are ready to step over the remains of the Vegas dynasty to claim the throne for themselves. We have to talk about the mental exhaustion of playing in this environment. It is draining to show up to work every day when there is this much tension in the room. You can only fake the all-for-one attitude for so long before the mask starts to slip. During the championship parade, everything looked perfect, but that was clearly the peak before the valley. The descent into this current chaos has been swift and unforgiving. The joy has been sucked out of the building, replaced by a cold professionalism at best and outright hostility at its worst. My prediction earlier this season was that NaLyssa Smith would be an all-star and potentially get taken by the Valkyries. I thought she was going to be the next big thing in a new market. But with all this drama, her stock is in free fall. Who wants to bring that kind of baggage into a brand new franchise? The Aces' inability to manage their players' personal lives and social media presence has not only hurt the team, but has also damaged the individual brands of the players involved. It is a lose-lose situation for everyone who set foot in that locker room this year. As we look toward the future, the Aces are going to have to make some incredibly difficult decisions. Do they try to trade away the problem players for pennies on the dollar? Or do they try to force people to play together who clearly hate each other? Neither option leads to a championship. The Aces' way was supposed to be about sisterhood and dominance, but right now it looks like a cautionary tale about how quickly things can fall apart. The dynasty isn't just leaning, it is collapsing in real time, and there might not be enough left to save. The era of Las Vegas dominance is officially reaching its endpoint. You can't lose a star player like Chelsea Gray, deal with a fractured relationship between NaLyssa and Jackie, and expect to remain at the top. The vibes have shifted, the roster is aging, and the competition is getting younger and hungrier. This will go down as one of the most dramatic collapses in sports history, a literal obliteration of a dynasty that should have lasted much longer. The Aces flew too close to the sun, and now they are watching their wings melt away as they plummet back to reality.